Hey guys, it's Austin here. I just wanted to let you know that in this episode, we do talk about some heavy topics such as suicide and domestic violence. I know for some of you that may be triggering and distressing, but I want you to remember that you are never alone and it's okay to seek help. If you need resources, you can call or text the 24/7 Suicide and Crisis Hotline at 988. Again, if you or someone you know needs help, you can call the Suicide and Crisis Hotline at 988. Thank you. What drives you? What inspires you? Let's ignite your why. Welcome back to Ignite Your Why podcast. I'm your host, Austin T. Gully, and we're here to have genuine conversations with authentic people to help amplify their voice and figure out what ignites their why. Today's guest was born and raised in Hamilton, Ohio. She's a graduate of Hamilton High, and she spent the last 5 years working in the tech industry. I want to give a warm welcome to my old friend, Megan Hart. Megan, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I feel like I haven't talked to you since I last worked at Apple.
Yep.
But not even when I last worked at Apple, when you worked at the Kenwood Apple store. So
Yes.
what was that, like 2021?
It was
No.
it was
Or was it?
2018.
I was like before COVID. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
before
yeah.
COVID.
It was 2018. I'm actually back at Kenwood now after my
I
little
I
hiatus. Yes.
I peeped off of your LinkedIn. I said, oh, says Cincinnati, so she's back.
Yes, I am.
I dipped and I haven't looked back. So.
Right. I understand. Trust me, I'm right there.
I've heard multiple stories. I still have friends who work there, and I miss the people. I will say that I do miss the people. I think the people are the best part of working at Apple,
Mhm.
but I don't miss the inconsistency of working hours and just the annoyance of customers and being yelled at by people because their phone is broken. Like, I'm sorry, ma'am. I did not do this, but
And then them being rewarded for the way that they treat you. Like, you'll be like, wow, they just said this to me. And then their solution is, oh, let's offer them a free phone case or a free this. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
customer's
yeah,
always right.
let's enable
Always.
this behavior. For
anyways,
sure.
anyways.
Mhm.
Enough about that. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure you'll talk about Apple eventually.
Mhm.
But let's just hop straight into this. So, what is your story?
Well, like as you said before, I was born and raised Hamilton, Ohio. I went to Fairfield High School up until my junior year and then transferred to Hamilton my senior year. Um, Reason for all that, I was fortunate enough that my family or my parents were together up until I was 17 years old. They separated my senior year, so moved out of the house that I grew up in my entire life. Got split in kind of between two apartments, and then my junior year at Fairfield was a hot mess because I had just gotten into a pretty toxic, abusive relationship, and he had graduated high school already, but like all of his exes were still in school with me. So it was kind of like, don't start anything, won't be anything. But everybody wanted to start something. So for my own mental health and sake of everything, I transferred high schools and just got away from all the drama. Um, but moving forward past that, I think again, like the being in the abusive relationship that I was in it for 10 years. From high
Jeez.
school, yeah, on up until really moving back to Cincinnati and everything. But I think if anything, that's what's definitely really shaped me a lot was being in that relationship and then just really realizing, the people you have around you does trickle into your life, does
Mhm.
affect you wholeheartedly. Like moving past that, in 2020, I well, first of all, in 2020, my one of my best friends I grew up with, he committed suicide. Um, so that had a pretty profound effect during COVID, the shutdown, being isolated away from everyone, all that kind of stuff. And I actually ended up I had my own suicide attempt when I was 16. But then I had another suicide attempt pretty much right around the time my best friend had committed suicide. And what I did, I took a bunch of Xanax. I got behind the wheel of my car, ended up getting pulled over, which again is like a major blessing in disguise. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot better. But I'm just glad I didn't end up hurting myself or hurting anybody else. Like that,
Mhm.
that's my whole thing. I didn't hurt anyone else, so we're good. But when I got pulled over, for driving, pretty out of control because I wasn't in my right mind at all. The officer, pulled me over. Was like, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm explaining everything to her. Um, I'm like recording on my phone and everything. I still have a video on my phone, which is crazy. I was like, "What?" I wasn't even, thinking straight to be doing this. But I'm recording her and just telling her everything that's going on. Then she asked me to get out of the car, and I'm like getting out the car, and then that's when I stopped recording. So in my head, I'd always thought that she had took my phone out of my hand and was like not trying to allow me to record, and then went to put my hands behind my back. But later, listening to the actual like um, dash cam footage. You can't see anything, but you can hear stuff. What I was telling her, I was like, yeah, no, I need to call somebody because no one knew that I was doing what I was doing. It was,
Yeah.
like you don't really tell anyone. You don't want to be talked out of it, like all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I need to tell somebody what's going on. And she's like, no, we're not doing that right now. And that's when she took my phone out of my hand and went to put my arms behind my back. I'm diagnosed with PTSD, clearly from being in the relationship that I was in for so long. But like, if you go to restrain me, I'm going to try to not be restrained. It's just, and especially not being in the right mind. So when she went to put my hands behind my back, I moved my arm back in front and then bit her wrist to get her to let me go. The moment I bit her, I was like, "Oh crap! Like, what did I just do?" And put my arms behind my back and all that stuff. But like at that point, I've already did what you did. I just bit a
Mhm.
police officer, and now I'm walking away from this with a felony on my record, instead of just a DUI or whatever this could have turned out to be. So in that instance, I got a DUI and the felony assault charge for biting a police officer. I went to jail for 3 days that time, and then after that, I just kind of kept getting pulled over for driving under suspension. And when you have a DUI suspension, it's mandatory jail time, like every time. So the first time's 3 days. The second time's 10 days. Third day's 30 days, and so on and so forth. So, and I'm driving back and forth from Cincinnati to Columbus
Oh yeah, that's
because
a drive.
yeah, yes. So I worked in the Easton store for 4 years. 2 of the years I lived out in Columbus. Um, at like halfway through, I decided to move back home because I got this felony on my record, and now I can't get an apartment in my own name. So that put a huge. I'm like, wow, I need to move back home, move back in with my dad. Um, I need to transfer, but I'll stick it out for a little bit, see what I can do. And of course, it ended up being 2 years later that a position actually opened at Kenwood. Had to take a step down in my role to get back into Kenwood. Um, and all of this, of course, is like stemming from getting a felony. Because the reason I'm still at Apple and didn't even leave Apple when it came time to move back home was because like I haven't gone through trying to find a job with a felony on my record. Like I've had people ask me and reach out and be like, "Hey, you'd be a perfect fit and come in and all this stuff." And I've even been upfront, like, "Hey, I just want to, not waste your time or mine. I'm a felon. Is this going to be a problem?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, it shouldn't be. You'll be fine. Just like come in and explain it to us or whatever." And but like I've done that a couple times, and they're like, "Yeah, like we really can't take anybody with the felony after we like looked into it more or whatever and blah blah blah." And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, "Yeah, like." I don't want to go through the rejection of looking for a job right now if people that are looking and reaching out to me are telling me no. So it kind of put, a pretty big damper on things and it's been a lot to work through and work around. But I mean, like, I'm here, I'm still, still moving forward and everything like that. So yeah.
Well, one, I just want to say, like, thank you for being open and
Mhm,
vulnerable. I know it takes a lot of strength to just even admit the things you're talking about, and I think
mhm,
that one shows a ton of growth. too. Thankful that you're still here,
Yeah,
just
no.
because you have this story, and I think it's important to tell. And it's crazy when you think of those things because you never really understand what people are going through
Mhm.
behind closed doors.
Mhm.
It's so easy for a lot of people to close off and not talk about anything. And I think 2020 was just a very hard time for a lot of
Mhm.
people, just because, like you said, you were isolated, you were by yourself, you weren't allowed to. I wouldn't say you weren't allowed to be around people,
Right.
but it was kind of highly
Frowned
recommended
upon.
not to be,
Yeah.
so it's like, I understand that because I
Mhm.
think 2020 was a year, especially for me, it was just a year of growth. I found out a lot about myself. I was still going to therapy and things of that nature, but I really had to take a step back and deal with some shit that I didn't necessarily want to deal with, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. But
Mhm.
I think it was more towards like the end of everything, like when it was like November, December is when I really started to like feel like the depression set part
Mhm.
of everything. Because it's
Mhm.
crazy how just time like works. And it's crazy when I think back to like what you were just talking about, because I have questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the first one is just coming back to your childhood,
Mhm.
and just going to a school for or not necessarily a school, but living in the same area for 17 years, and then
Mhm.
your life gets uprooted into two different like lifestyles at that point.
Mhm.
What was that like for you, and how did you really adapt to that situation?
Well, like, I thought I was gonna be okay, right? Like, I mean, like, I'm older. I understand what's going on. I get it. Like, things happen. People, aren't sometimes aren't meant to be together forever or anything along those lines. And it was like my mom even asked me for my permission. Like, she's like, "Hey, how would you feel if me and your dad got divorced?" kind of thing. And I was like, dude, I'm living in the house with you guys fighting like all the time. And my older brother, he's 4 years older than me. He's out. You know what I'm saying? Like he's peace. I'm going to a friend's house. I'm whatever. He can leave. I can't. I have to sit here and be in this. And a lot of times things involved me one way or another, or they'd be arguing and then they'd ask for like my opinion. Like, what do you think? And I'm like, yo, like I'm a kid. Let me stay in a kid's place kind of thing or whatever. So, I mean, I was initially happy, like I was happy with it. Like I was like, okay, cool. Everything's gonna calm down a little bit. I was sad to leave the house that I grew up in, my like literally spent my entire life in. So to go from a house to apartment living was like, okay, whatever. And then this was my first time moving too with my like moving at all and everything. So I was like, all right, whatever. Um, I think if any, like it made everything really uncertain. Like it still has this weird like uncertainty kind of feeling behind everything. Nothing really feels too much like home anymore.
Mhm.
Like home was both my parents, my brother, being able to all of us be in one place and being the same. Now it's just kind of, like um holidays don't even feel the same anymore. But I mean, like that's even outside of my immediate family, like our cousins, the extended family, we don't get together anymore, even since COVID, really. Everything's some sort of
Right.
COVID related reason that nobody wants to get together and all that stuff. And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, dude, like not only did it feel like, my, most immediate family kind of has disbanded a little bit, but even my extended family. So that whole family feel, it's not there the way it used to be. So I lean on my friends a whole lot ever since everything, and just kind of have built up my own little, community amongst myself or
Yeah.
whatever.
I think that's the weird thing about growing up. Is
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
shit never feels the same. Because I feel
Yeah.
like as a kid, like Christmas was like super exciting.
Yeah.
And
They were
I'm
just
pretty
like,
sure it gets exciting like if you have kids, but I don't have
hmm.
kids. So
Right.
it's like
Right.
as you would age and mature, it's kind of just like, oh, this is just another day.
Hmm.
And people outgrow each other, people get distant. And I think that's the thing is you are living your own life.
Hmm.
And
And
it's
because like it,
hard when yeah, I like it's hard because when we're kids, it's kind of like we're forced to be around these people as
yeah.
kids.
Yeah. And then, like, um, with you think that your parents like have it all figured out. Like especially like when
Mhm.
they're together, everything seems so smooth. Like we're the American dream, right? Like this is how things are supposed to be. And it all kind of felt like it happened out of nowhere. Like everything was great, and then all of a sudden everything was just bad. And there was no attempt at like reconciliation at all. It was just like, okay, straight to divorce. like no, I was just
But when
like,
you but if you really think about it, like, they probably did try behind closed doors,
mhm,
because a lot of the times parents don't want their children to see certain things. So,
mhm,
yes, like, parents argue and things of that nature, but I think deep and big conversations happen behind
mhm,
closed doors because it's one out of protection of our children, because we
yeah.
don't want them to see this, that we don't want them to kind of look at us differently.
Yeah, past judgment and everything,
But
yeah.
it's also protecting their emotions,
Mhm,
because we don't want you to feel like, I feel like this would be me as a parent. Like, I wouldn't want my kids to feel like pressure from
mhm,
like something that's going on between like their mother and I. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So it's
yeah,
kind of like one of those things where it's like they probably separated you from that situation. So when it comes to that decision, it does look like it's kind of blindsided. But
mhm,
I think it takes a lot of courage for your mom to come to you and just be like, "Hey, like, would you be okay with this?" But in
mhm.
reality, I don't think it's your decision.
Yeah, no,
Like,
seriously.
if you're not happy, like, you're not happy. Like, don't suffer because of me. Like,
Mhm,
that's not fair to you.
yeah,
So it's definitely a different, like, an interesting dynamic, I should say. It's
mhm,
definitely interesting.
yeah, and she like, m my mom and me and my dad don't get into it too much as far as, like, talking about everything, but, like, be my mom has definitely opened up a lot and let me in on a lot of different things, and then just, like, even things from, like, before I was born, like, that she still, like, harbors and holds on to and stuff, and trust me, like, being in my own relationship, I was like, "Oh, yeah, no, I get it." I
Yeah.
get that now. Still feeling hurt or whatever, like, forgiving, but still having those feelings of, like, not forgetting kinda thing, so I'm like, "Yeah, I understand." Um, but yeah, it was just kinda it was crazy. It was definitely one of those situations where it seemed like it was like, "Oh, we're gonna, like, stay together and stick it out for the kids," instead of just, like,
Yeah.
honoring your own emotions and stuff, so, yeah.
I think it's interesting how you said, like, it's like you've forgiven, but you don't forget that feeling. And I
Mhm,
think you don't have to forget that feeling.
mhm,
Um, but I also feel like we have the power to feel what we need to feel when we need to feel it.
mhm,
So my therapist has always told me is like, it's like they're wounds, right?
mhm,
They're wounds inside of you. And it's just, you have the power to acknowledge those wounds whenever you want, how long you want. If it's for a minute, it's for a minute. If it's for 5 minutes, it's for 5 minutes. And I thought of it that way. I was like, oh, you're right.
mhm,
But it's interesting. And I think the hardest thing to healing, in my opinion, I think the hardest thing to heal is to forgive,
mhm,
right? I feel like once you start to forgive, it's easier to heal and move forward, because
mhm,
it's like you're accepting it, you're letting go, and you're kind of moving forward in that sense. And that's how I see it. I think the hardest part is to forgive when someone's hurt you deeply.
mhm,
But once you can get to that point where you're like, I forgive you, you're just like,
mhm,
oh, it's like a weight is lifted off your shoulders.
mhm. I think the biggest thing that I'm, like, trying to work on right now isn't even, like, forgiving other people, honestly. I grant everybody else so much grace, it's whatever. Like, I'll give you chance after chance after
Hmm.
chance. I need to forgive myself. I have to work on forgiving myself, and that's the one thing that, like, I don't think I've truly mastered yet or anything like that. Like, I count myself out probably much more than anybody else in this world would ever count me out. And I think that's been even like a mental hurdle for me to get over because like I'm sitting here like feeling like, oh yeah, I feel like my back's up against the wall. Like I have to stay at Apple. You know what I'm saying? Like this
Hmm.
is gonna be one of the best jobs I could possibly get while being a felon and all that stuff. Like I was like, yeah, I really got to work on that mindset and get out of that mindset and realize like I'm bigger than this thing that's attached to me or whatever the case may be. So that's been my like 2024 plan, is to just
Resolution.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly, get reacclimated with myself and just understand like it's okay. Like no one else is looking at me as terrible as I'm looking at myself. So,
Giving
you know.
yourself grace is always the hardest thing to do,
Mhm.
especially because I feel it's so easy for us to be so self-critical on
Mhm.
everything that we do, and we kind of heighten it to be kind of extreme when we don't necessarily have to.
Yeah.
But my question for you is just, whose voice is it?
It's
And what I
mine.
mean by that is, who's like, but whose voice is in your head telling you these things?
My
Like, is it
yeah. No,
But
like
is it because of something else that happened in the past that's making you feel this way and think this way?
I
Because when my
feel
therapist sat me
mhm,
down and said that, I was like, "Oh shit. I thought it was my voice."
mhm,
Right? I thought it was my voice telling me that I had to be the best. I have to do this or I'm going to get in trouble. But in reality, it wasn't my voice.
mhm.
It
No,
was
I
my
think
coaches from being an athlete.
yeah, see, it might be part of that because 'cause I've been an athlete my entire life, but I also think it's part of, like, the societal pressures. Like, you know,
Mhm.
I don't think anyone's grown up thinking that like a felon is a good person or a felon is somebody that you should be around, or it's just always been very like cut and dry as far as like, oh, criminal or this or that, until you're like in a situation yourself. You're like, oh wait,
Yep.
like this system is crazy. Like they get things wrong, things are wrong, like and then you go to jail and you're, even with that, you're like, hold on, this is supposed to, like, rehabilitate somebody? Like, you're in here getting treated terribly day in and day out by everyone around you, other inmates, COs, everything, and then you're supposed to get out and know how to carry yourself and treat people right in society. Like, it all is, like, a really major mind changer, like, when you're actually
Yeah.
in it yourself, because 'cause you're like, "Hold on, I've had this set in my head for life that this is what's considered a bad person. This is what you stay away from. This, did all these things." And then when you're there, you're like, oh, so now I'm this bad person that I've always been kind of like, told to stay away from. They're shady individuals. They can't be trusted. That this, that, and the third. And it's like, okay, I've met countless felons even at this point who you don't even know is like felt like you would have
Yeah.
never know until they like open it up and you're like, "Oh yeah, I have this too." Like I'm very open. I talk about everything. Like that's how I cope. That's how I get through things, all that stuff. And I remember being at Easton and I was like, "Yeah, I'm a felon now." And I'm like, in tears crying. 2, 3 people walked in, they're like, "I am too. Like, it's okay. Like, calm down." I'm like, "Wait, what?" They're like, "Yeah, dude, stuff happens." Like,
Yeah.
like for real. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, I would never have thought. They're like, "Yeah, because we're not just walking around here blasting it like you." like, but but like it's something that people deal with. So like, you're not alone. All that stuff, and it's like it took a lot of just rewiring my brain to understand like just things happen. We're all human, and like this is humility. Like just admit where your faults, your
Mhm.
flaws, all that stuff. And again, like without the experiences that I have been through, as far even going to jail, even an abusive relationship, like all of these things, I would not be the person I am today. And like I genuinely do enjoy who I am. I love myself. I love who I can be for other people, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been a journey since
It
2020.
takes Yeah, it takes strength though
Mhm,
to be able to own it. And I think you're right. There is a stereotype when people hear like the word felon.
mhm,
But when you take a step back and you think there are different types of felonies,
mhm,
and it's just when you think of it in that sense, it's like, oh, like, and hearing your story, it gives people a different perspective,
mhm,
because anyone can easily like, oh shit, like I get it, like I get what you're
mhm.
saying, because like that's
Yeah.
how you're like raised. You're just like, oh, like it's a bad person, but I also feel like people are able to change, and people are able to change their mind and have a good heart, and mistakes happen, man. Like
Mhm,
they do happen, but it's also just how do you move forward? Like you said, like this doesn't define who you are as a person.
mhm,
But I do feel like it does play a part of your story, and it's it's interesting to see how it all unfolds, and it kind of makes me want to lead into this next segment here because I'm curious now.
Yeah.
But what is it that inspires you? But more importantly, what is it that ignites your why?
So me, it's just like people really are my passion. Like, you know what I mean? Like on the grandest scale possible. Like every soul, every human, like everyone. I don't know. I don't really pass judgment because I feel like, like I have a lot to be judged off of. So why would I judge anybody else kind of
Mhm,
thing? So like my biggest thing is mental health. I'm super passionate about mental health, super passionate about kids, like and them being able to remain as innocent as they possibly can for as long as they possibly can and be a kid and don't try to grow up in this crazy world that is available to us now because of the digital age and everything like that. So just like yeah, I just love talking to people and even being at the Apple store, like like that you get
mhm.
so many different walks of life and you can get so many different perspectives and everything like that, and that's just something that I truly value and just love sitting down and talking to people. And yeah, there's just countless amounts of times where I've been able to like be strong for somebody else, and that honestly helps me even be strong for myself. Because I'm sitting here, I'm like, giving somebody else a little pep talk, and it's like, dude, you need to listen to yourself.
Take your own
Yeah,
advice.
exactly, and like, dude, so like honestly, helping other people is what's been able to help me, kind of
Mhm,
help me and try to get back aligned, and then also like having people tell you how much you've helped them and how great of a person you are and all this stuff, and you're like, oh wow, like yeah, like helping people genuinely feels amazing. And then I haven't done anything yet, but like because this is all just what my last day in at institution was March 1st of 2023. So like this will be my first, year of not having to like
yeah.
deal with any like institutionalization or anything along those lines. So I want to look into like even like system reform and just stuff like that, because it's like again, once you've been in it, your eyes are open to a whole different world and different side of things, and it's just like yeah, we don't get things right a lot, or there has to be a better way to go about
Right.
all of this. So yeah, I guess that's my biggest passion is just yeah, trying to make the world like genuinely make the world a better place and get everybody on a more understanding, kind of playing field.
You know what they always say, like, you have a voice, so use it.
Mhm.
And I think using your experiences helps elevate your voice. And I
Mhm.
think it's interesting because I understand where you're coming from about the Apple store because there's so many different people that come in and out of that store. But I
Mhm.
think working with the people that work there is amazing
Mhm.
because you have people from so many different walks of life, and you're just like, oh, I like this. Like
Yes, for
it gives
sure.
you a different perspective, and I think working at Apple helped me connect with people a lot better.
Mhm.
There's a lot of skills I've gained from working at Apple that I use in my everyday life
Mhm.
to this day, and I think it's just important. And I think the work that you're going to be doing is important. But you said you like to help people, but I want to challenge yourself to help yourself,
Mhm.
right? Because we can get so caught up in helping others that we forget that we matter the most
Mhm.
in all reality, because I feel no one truly has us as much as we have ourselves. And
Mhm.
if we're doing ourselves damage by not addressing what we need to address, then how can we really help other people? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I feel it's so easy to bottle up your emotions and not tell people how you're feeling because you're afraid of the judgment. You're afraid
Mhm.
of what they're going to say. But in reality, does their opinion matter?
Nope.
No, right? Like, I can't control what you're going to think. I can't control what you're going to say. But what I can control is how I feel and my emotions. So
Mhm.
it's take that power back, take that control and own it and
Mhm.
live your truth. And I think you're starting to do that. And it takes time. And I think
Yeah.
it's going to take time. You're going to have to heal. You're going to have to revisit old wounds and heal from those to be the most authentic Megan you can be.
Mhm.
But it's not impossible. It's just gonna take time. It's gonna take patience and a lot of
Mhm.
like practice and healing. I think that's the biggest thing. But I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see where this journey kind of goes and just to see the change you're going to make in this world because I know you're a person that has a lot of drive and a lot of
Mhm.
passion, and when you put your mind to something, I know you're going to do it. And
Mhm.
that's just from me knowing you in that short span of time at Apple when
Mhm.
I worked there. I could tell that about you. You had that drive and you always had a positive, upbeat personality. So
Mhm.
it was easy to talk to you. And I'm proud of you to be like who you are because I'm proud that you're owning your mistakes. I'm proud that
Mhm.
you're standing up for what you believe in and also making a change because it takes a lot. You could have easily folded, like you said, but to continue to fight, that takes strength.
Mhm. No, and then, like, even working in the Apple Store with all these different perspectives, like, that's one thing that's even helped me, like, over this past year, kinda
Mhm.
get to the point of, like, "Okay, I'm okay. I'm gonna start shining my light again," and all that stuff. Because there was points in Apple where I'm, like, sitting with customers, and they would be, like, singing me praises, at the end of their appointment because of, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You're so smart. You helped me, da 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 da." And I would, like, start crying, and they're looking at me like, "Yo, what is
Are
wrong with
you
you?"
okay?
Yeah, exactly, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, "I'm so sorry." Like, I'm like, "You're sitting here telling me I'm a great person, and I don't feel like a great person, and nothing's aligning, like, your compliments, I know they're genuine and they're true, and, like, but they're not even, like, they're not warming me up the way they're supposed to. They're bringing me down, like, because like, again, you're
Yeah.
giving me all this, and, like, I don't feel worthy of these praises, and so it took customers, like other just people in the world, like genuinely like showing even care, like in them showing like, dude, you're amazing, like regardless of anything, like come give me a hug, like and all that kind of stuff. So we've had a bunch of like kumbaya moments in the Apple Store for sure, just with strangers that have definitely helped, get me back to like, all right, I'm okay, I'm gonna be okay.
The power of strangers is
I'm telling
crazy.
you. I'm telling you.
This is why you should just be kind to people because you
Mhm.
never know what they're going through. And I think
Mhm.
that's what I try to do every single day. Is
Mhm.
just be kind.
For sure. For sure.
So earlier you mentioned that you are a big mental health advocate. So
Mhm.
am I.
Yes.
So we're gonna go into my favorite segment of this entire podcast. So my question for you is just how have you been taking care of yourself mentally?
I mean, I've been like in and out of therapy my forever, since when I was like a kid in elementary school. So like really like, and again, I'm an open book. I talk. The way I take care of myself is by being open about how I'm feeling. I express
Hmm.
everything. If I ever am getting worried about the way I'm feeling, I know to reach out. I know all the resources. Like it's been, yeah, it's been a long journey, a long time coming. Like I said, I had my first suicide attempt when I was only 16 years old. So, and I used to self-harm, like, even back when I was like 12, like starting at 12, I think I was cutting myself. So just realizing like, okay, there's unhealthy ways to handle things, and then
Yeah.
there's more productive manners to do things. And then even again, like just being open, honest, being able to talk and be an open book, it helps others too. Like because they open up and then they talk, and then now we're sharing experiences and we're either showing empathy or sympathy or a mix of both and everything like that. And that's my biggest thing is just open conversation, not passing judgment, like, and truly not, I mean, like, everybody judges. We all judge. It's kind of, it's a normal human thing,
100%.
but like, not just acting off of your preconceived judgments kind of thing. You're like, all right, let me at least give this person a chance. So I think that's, probably the biggest thing out too is just, giving everybody equal opportunity and not holding any of my experiences or anyone else's experiences against anyone. So, yeah.
I admire your openness because I was like, damn, I like, I'm not an open book.
Mhm,
I will say that there are things that are closed off and
mhm.
just, I don't think everyone needs to know everything. That's just who I am. But
Mhm.
I do admire the fact that like you're open to talking about your experiences and you're not afraid to show people who you truly are. And I think that itself just takes strength.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like I can get there eventually.
Yeah.
But it is admirable just to be able to have a conversation with you and see how comfortable you are talking about your
Mhm.
emotions because I don't know if it's because I'm a man that makes it harder. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
But
there's different pressures for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
from society and things of that
Yeah.
nature. But it I'm just amazed by just how open you were. I know when you reached out and you're like, "Hey, like I have shit to talk about." And I
Yeah.
was like I wasn't expecting it to be like
Yeah.
this deep and like this heavy, but I'm thankful for the conversation because I think there's someone out there who can relate to you.
Mhm.
And
No,
that's the
like,
most important thing.
and as open as I'm open in person. I'm open in real life. I don't have any social media. I'm not open in that form. Like and that's another part too. Like I'm not like a private person per se, I guess, but like I enjoy my privacy in that way. Like I think I'm too much of an overshare for the social
Social
media
media.
platform. Like I'll just like, and I'm passionate about a lot, and like I will, get to commenting or get to like debating and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, no, I am not ready for this yet. I just need to. I can deal with debating in my real life and expressing my emotions in my real life. I'll be closed off in that way. So it's like I'm
Yep.
open, and the people who know me, they know me. And if you can catch me in person, all day. But outside of that, like I am very hard to, I'm to find or anything like that. I'm a ghost,
She's
an
like, "I'm
open
off the
ghost.
grid, but I'm
Yes,
not off the grid." I see,
yes.
that's sometimes I wish, like I sometimes wish I never had social media.
Hmm.
But I kinda need social media to promote this podcast and
Yeah, for
do
sure.
things of that nature, so
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my friends literally yesterday, and I was like, "When you look at my social media, like, I don't really post, like, about, like, my personal life much.
Hmm.
It is all Ignite Your Y stuff."
Yeah.
So literally, you go to my Instagram page, you're gonna see a ton of like reels
Hmm.
and posts about this podcast. And I think that's the biggest thing is I'm trying to build a brand. And
Hmm.
to do that, you kind of have to have social media.
Yeah.
Kind of sucks in a
Hmm.
sense because I feel like social media can be so addicting just because it takes so much time out of your day. But I love it so much at the same time because I'm allowed to like create content and give people things, and it's just very healing and therapeutic for me.
Yeah, no, and
But
I think part of it too is like the surroundings, like the people I had around, like the people I had as friends, on social media and everything like that. Like,
mhm,
it was a lot of that, just the drama content that's there
it
and
can
everything.
be so toxic
Yeah, and I was
sometimes.
like, wow, I need to really change the people that I hang around, kind of thing. And yeah, and I
I
just,
love drama. Just
yeah,
as long as I'm not in it. Like I will literally just like be like, "Oh, what are they talking about?
yeah,
Oh shit. What happened? Who said what? That's
yeah,
happening? What?" Like, I will literally eat that shit up. Like, I
hmm,
will be scope gating posts. Like, "Oh,
yeah,
what's going on?" Like, there'll be like if I see like a post and there's like 250 comments and I see people arguing, I will read every single comment.
yep, yep.
Even though like I have no business of I'm not a part of this conversation. I'm just nosy. Like, I just
No,
want to
like,
know. Like,
don't get me
why?
wrong, my best friend is social media addicted. So like when anything pops up, she's like, "Oh my gosh." I'm like, "What? What? What?" Like I still, want to be in the know a little bit, but I'm like, "Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
need full access to it 24/7 because I will be on there like, girl, like I'll be like,
Hmm.
girl, let's look what I learned today." And then I'm divulging all of it. She's like, "How long have you been on, you know, Facebook today or whatever?"
Oh,
And it's like,
just like 8 hours.
yeah. But I learned everything.
It's definitely interesting. I think that's the thing about me is I'm just so nosy. Like, I just want to
Hmm.
know. I just want to know.
Yeah,
I need to
yeah.
know. Like, it's not my business, but I want to
But I
know.
need to know. Yeah.
Like, I literally saw a TikTok the other day where it's just like, it's not my business, but I want to know. Like,
Yeah.
who's your baby daddy? And
Yeah.
you have a baby, but you never posted. Like, I wanna know. It's not my business, but I wanna know.
Yep, yep.
It's so interesting because I see these things and I'm just like, "Who are they talking about?" It's not my
Mhm.
business, but I wanna
Yeah. Like, when
know.
you, like, have the mental capacity to handle it, then by all means, like, go ahead. But, like, I have friends who will consistently complain to me about, like, "Oh, I'm stressed out because I saw this or I saw that or this is triggering to me and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Okay, so either, like, unfollow that page or that person or, like, delete social media or get off her." "Well,
Yeah,
I can't." And there's all these reasons why, like, they can't. And I'm like, "Okay, so you value this more than your mental health." Like, if it's, like, again, if it's something that's like you don't struggle with it, like I have this whole comparison thing. Like if I start, I'll get to comparing my life to everybody else's who's making their life look
so
so amazing.
easy. I tell people all the time on this podcast, social media is a highlight reel.
Yeah,
People don't show the
exactly,
struggle; they just show the ups and ups and ups, and
exactly. And
they
I'm like,
make
yeah,
life look so attractive, and it's not
yeah. I'm like, no,
sunshine and
I need to
rainbows.
live in reality a little bit and really get my reality feeling like this before I just get to posting and making everything look so glorious and stuff. And yeah, no.
I
So
feel you.
that's
I
my
feel
whole
you.
thing. Like I was like, yeah, I personally can't handle it. If you can't, more power to you. I wish I could be more you know, there, but I'm
I
like, yeah, nah.
Yeah, it's so easy to compare ourselves to other people. What I tell
Mhm.
people all the time is just your journey is unique to
Mhm.
yourself, and shit's gonna happen when it's supposed to happen, where it's supposed to happen, how it's supposed to happen. Like
Mhm.
it all happens for a reason.
Yep.
So it's
And
easy
it'll
to
all
look
work
at.
out.
Yeah, it's easy to look at Johnny over here and be like, "Oh shit, Johnny's doing great," but
Right.
you don't see the struggle that Johnny went through to be great.
Mhm.
So it's those things where you just have to realize like my journey is unique to me. Everything's gonna happen for me when it's supposed to happen for me. And you kind of manifest that. And it's
Mhm.
not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, y'all. Like I still struggle with it sometimes, but it's just a process and a journey of thinking like, okay, this is my journey, my story. It's unique to me, and it's gonna happen when it's supposed to happen. Can't force things. Can't
Mhm.
overthink about things. It's just being patient, and I think having patience is one of the hardest things to have, but one of the most vital things to have is patience.
Mhm.
So
Definitely.
it's definitely a whirlwind, but I do appreciate you taking the time out of your day, waking up early to have this conversation. It's been lovely. I will say that it's been nice catching up with you, seeing your face because it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. I
crazy.
know, right? That's what I was like, oh, wow.
But it's like nothing. We haven't missed a beat. We always
Mhm.
have fun at work, and I feel like this conversation was fun. And it was nice to just hear your story and see your strength and see all the things that you're going to be doing. I'm excited to see your journey unfold and to see you continue to flourish and get to where you need to be. But if anyone wants to have a conversation with you about anything that we talked about today, what would be the best way for them to get a hold of you?
I guess you can just reach out to me on LinkedIn. Search Megan Hart and you'll be able to find me. Cause yeah, I don't have any social media. So
Hey, but I think LinkedIn is one of the best ways to connect with people. So
Mhm.
I don't fault you for that at all.
Yeah.
So again, thank you for taking the time out of your day to be on this podcast. And thank you all for tuning in. I will put all of Megan's information in the description below. So I will link her LinkedIn in the description below. If you all happen to reach out to her, please just make sure you notate on how you found her. I'm sure she will greatly appreciate that. And do not forget to follow us on all social media platforms. It's at Ignite Your Y. That's INGYTE, not with an I. We are on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, we are there. YouTube as well. If you're watching this, make sure you like, subscribe, share this video with your friends. With that being said, always remember, find your purpose, ignite your why, and I'll holler at you guys later. Peace.